rappel down to the cliff sites so they could either take the eggs or replace them with a captive egg, or I think it was mostly about taking out the eggs so they would double clutch. There's an example of egg removal, and then the condors. Oh yeah, in this case, this condor had left the site and they took her egg and then brought in another one. Condor release. And the goals of the California condor is to maintain at least 2 wild populations and have at least 1 captive population. The populations have to have 150 individuals with 15 breeding pairs, be reproductively self-sustaining, and have a positive population growth rate. Those wild populations, like between Arizona, Baja, California, they have to be separated and non-interacting. And they, as you know, when you think about it, to maintain the expense of maintaining all these captive condors, and once they've been released into the wild, you still have scientists that are intensely involved in finding them with the radio transmitters and doing lead testing and watching the behaviors to see if they have to be brought in for health concerns. So as the numbers go up and the condor populations grow, you can very easily have this enormous cost, and so a lot to balance. All right, ready to talk?
All right, so Carol touched on this, but we'll go over condors and lead now because it's very, very important. It's the biggest reason of why their population has decreased so much. A lot of people think a lot of people wonder, okay, how do they even get lead poisoning in the first place? Okay, people shoot them and then maybe they're living with the poison inside of them, and that's not it at all. They're protected species. They're not being shot, legally at least. But Carol went over how they eat carrion, so once that animal that has been shot, maybe the hunter doesn't find it, it runs away, goes and dies somewhere else, the condor comes down, sees it, comes down, eats it, and this slide is showing what a lead bullet does when it's shot. So up here, we have a lead bullet that went through, it's kind of some kind of like gelatin thing, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's just showing you that it enters the body and then shatters. So it splits up into all these little teeny tiny pieces, as opposed to a non-lead bullet or a copper bullet over there that goes straight through and mushrooms instead of shatters. So you can come up here later and we have some really good examples. I actually stole them from the docent drawer, so maybe you've seen them. So you can come and see all that fragmentation versus a copper bullet that stays in one piece, even though it hits, it just mushrooms. So hunters will take that, with the use of lead bullet, they'll just have to cut out that hunk of animal, that hunk of meat that had the lead in it, and toss it out. Which if they do it on site, they could just drop that out. Another animal will come, eat it, they have lead poisoning and die.
And a lot of hunters, they do the gut pile, where they don't want to take out the whole weight of the animal, so they'll do the gutting out in the wherever they killed, and they'll leave all that for the condor, or for anyone.
Yeah, any animals that eat that really affects them all. Okay, another one, microtrash, and I guess I didn't bring it down, but we have an example of microtrash mixed in with seashells. So condors are very good parents, as Carol said, and they like to feed their babies seashells because there's lots of calcium in that. So they go and they scour the beaches and they find all these hard white objects that supposedly should have calcium in there. So you can see in this slide. Can you guys tell what's trash and what's seashells? Not even in the clearer picture can you tell. You can see there's like bags in there, but you really can't tell. Over here you can tell a little bit better, and we know the difference. Condors do not know the difference. They just want to do what's healthy for their babies. So if you go back to the other, yeah. So they collect a bunch of trash and shells probably, and they bring it back to the nest. So this was found in a nest. We have a bottle cap, 2 different types of bottle caps, I think some plastic over there, and that's what they are feeding their babies and eating themselves too. So their stomachs fill up with trash and they don't have any more space, they're not getting any food or nutrients, and they eventually starve to death and die. So you can see over here, this one has just a bunch of trash in it. I don't know if that was a juvenile, the young one, yeah. So it just piles up and kills them, basically. Power lines, another big issue. So condors are flying really, really high. They have amazing eyesight, and they're so focused on what's on the ground. They zero in on the carrion, all these dead animals on the ground, and then they fly in, and they're not looking for very thin power lines, as you know, most birds aren't looking for that unless they're looking to perch. They're not looking to perch on it. They want to go down and get what's underneath it. And unfortunately, they catch their wings in it, wing is broken, can't go anywhere, eventually die. So that's a big problem. And Carol was telling me, well, I know, so the really big, what are they called? The wind turbines also were a big problem for condors, but, and it wasn't because they were just like flying we saw that they can fly 15,000 feet. They're really high in the air, but those turbines knock down other birds. So that causes a pile up of delicious food underneath. So when the condors come down to get those birds, then they can get hit by those turbines, which they do it a different way now.
A project that I worked on, I'm a desert tortoise biologist, as well as being a teacher and a docent. But up in the Tehachapi Mountains, my husband and I were part of this long-term project building we weren't building, we were the biologists, doing the new turbines for the Alta wind, and they're massive turbines, and they move a lot slower, and they're much safer for wildlife, bats and birds than the old meat grinders. But as Katie said, you've got this problem of condors still being taken out, and the good news is that the condor is coming back to an old territory. They're coming back to the Tehachapi Mountains, but you've got now this whole new problem. So at this point, part of the system with the wind farms is there is a biologist that's hidden up there in the mountains, and they are there to watch for condors, and if a condor comes within 2 miles of the turbines, they're shut down. So we'll see if this is a continuation throughout our planet.
I would kind of want that job because it's really helpful, but also I think I'd be too bored. Okay, so also, Carol touched on DDT and DDE, so an insane pesticide or insecticide used on tons and tons of crops. DDT was outlawed, you can't use it anymore, but unfortunately, DDE is a derivative of DDT, so it's still in the environment and it is going up, it's bioaccumulating in the ecosystem, and once whatever the biggest animal, whether it's a whale maybe, dies, then the condors eat it, then they get it. And what the problem with that is that it makes their shells really thin. So they lay an egg, and the shell, if they sit on it, it just crushes. It's too thin. So huge problem also, and unfortunately, even though it's illegal, it's still a problem because it's still in the environment. California condors and the Oakland Zoo. So the Oakland Zoo is always trying to support our animals. We do fundraising quarters for conservation. I'm sure a lot of you have participated in that or helped with it, but it's not an animal right now that's on quarters for conservation, but it was. So we were able to raise a lot of money and give it to California Condor Recovery Program. We are partnered with California Condor Recovery Program. We have an on-site holding facility where condors are brought if they have lead poisoning. And we do something called chelation therapy. Everyone say chelation.
Chelation.
Chelation. It looks like chelation. It's not. And this is simply the process of trying to remove the metals from inside them. And you never remove 100% of the metal, but at least you can get it down to a safer level where they can be released and then hopefully breed more. So we are actually a facility that does this. Our vets here at the Oakland Zoo perform this process and help the condors and release them.
And just elaborate on what that entails. Is that like a blood therapy or a?
Yes, it's a blood therapy. Yes.
And chelation therapy is a therapy, you use it for all sorts. I mean, chelation therapy happens with human beings. If you have mercury, if you have lead, a lot of times behaviors and illnesses in human beings are because of all these toxins. And they'll use these similar, but I don't know the actual process of how yes, please.
So I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm not a specialist on this, but my general sense is that the blood is actually removed through an IV and run through some kind of a process which pulls the blood out, pulls the heavy metals out of the blood.
And then
it's a chemical process.
Okay, so the blood is removed, heavy metals are pulled, and then the blood gets replaced, and so it's all part of okay, interesting, yes.
Yeah, what they use is calcium EDTA as a chemical.
Okay.
And the calcium is dropped off and the lead is picked up.
Right.
And I don't know if it's excreted or if it's...
Excreted.
It's excreted, yeah.
Okay,
So
that sounds familiar, it binds to it, and then you're able to secrete. Yeah,
That's
okay.
chelating.
Okay.
That's the chelation part.
Oh, I appreciate that, thank you.
Carol?
Yes.
I think we saw a video, one of the vets came and showed us that whole thing one time. Maybe that would be worth obtaining again and seeing, because I remember seeing it here, the whole process. This is a little while ago.
I love checking stuff out, and you know I'll be in all in it.
Yeah.
But Oakland Zoo has only been doing this for a fairly short time. San Diego, Los Angeles zoos were the major players, and especially for the birds that are up in the Big Sur area, when they are found with high elevated levels of lead, coming to Oakland is so much quicker. So it's wonderful that Oakland has become a major player.
Okay, so this is a picture of Quarters for Conservation. I'm sure you're familiar. These are our vets working on a condor, and then I also wanted to point out education and outreach, so we inform the public about our programs, or about the animals. So here we have probably the best educator in the entire world, and the prettiest. And she's educating the public about animals, whatever animal it may be. And then Condor Recovery Program. Also support population goals and healthy habitats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can help take action. You can get inspired and inspire others, of course, that's your job. Visit the Ventana Wildlife Society website. You can make donations. You can volunteer with them. You can be like my incredible, awesome Team Wild Guides and go to or organize beach cleanups, because when there's no trash in the water, then there's less of them are picking up the trash and giving it to the babies. And of course, don't use lead bullets when you go hunting.
And as Katie's, the cleanup is now the #1 problem, is all the microtrash, because California has passed laws about lead bullets. It became illegal to use lead bullets in these Condor release sites. Not that that stops everyone. And then in, I think it was 2015, it was like the large mammals that were on state properties. You couldn't use lead on those properties. And then maybe 2016 or 17, it was then birds and the small mammals. And then 2019, no lead in California. If we can keep it that way.
Exactly true.
Almost done. I also wanted to talk about Condor Camp, because every year, except for last year, we get to take the Team Wild Guides, 7 lucky Team Wild Guides, on a trip to the Big Sur Mountains And we meet up with Montana Wildlife Society, the Condor biologists, and they take us up to base camp. It's like 3 hours into the mountains over there. And we get to study and learn about condor research and what it takes to be a field biologist. So here they are, they put out supplemental feeding. So at nighttime you drag out carcasses and put a carabiner through their Achilles tendon, hammer it to the ground so that the condors can't move them. So we get to watch them from a distance while they feed, mark what numbers, which ones came to feed that day. They also get to track them. So they use Yagi sticks. This is what they still use out there. And and these things, and they have to listen to the sound to see how far away. And actually, I have a twig in the crowd who went to Condor Camp. Laura's back there. She could probably explain this just as well as I can. But they get this really amazing experience learning about the condors and actually participating in the research and tracking them. So, really awesome program. We're going again this spring. Thank you.